You're what the Lord has done. So many reasons to lift up Jesus.
This is Senior Pastor Jamaal Bernard from the Christian Culture Center, and I want to welcome you to today's message. Wherever you're listening from, at home, in the car, or on the move, I believe this message is going to challenge, inspire, and help you grow. Now let's get into today's message. How we doing, family? It's funny how God ministers to us, right? This is ministering to me right now. This does something to me personally, so I just say thank you. I want to acknowledge it. Also want to give a shout out. May is Mental Health Month. So you'll be hearing conversations about mental health sprinkled throughout the month of May. We really want to encourage individuals to really respond to, yes, God is able. God will do. Right? And sometimes God responds to your situation through a doctor. Right? So because sometimes we'll try to, pray it out. Right? We can pray, but we need sometimes, a doctor to help balance off some things. So the church, especially the church of color, has been very slow in having these conversations. So much so that the world is talking about it, and now they're going to the world seeking help. And I'm like, no, the best place is get a Christian counselor. Because he'll give you two prescriptions. One prescription called the Bible, used as often. The second prescription will be prayer. And then the third prescription will be something that meets the physical needs if necessary. Amen? I think it's both and. I don't think it's either or. So we're going to be talking about that. We're having a conversation. I'm excited. And with that being said, I got a message for you that I've been wrestling with, how to say it, how to minister it. It comes out of my devotion on page 132. I'm going to try, my sister. I'm going to try. It comes out of my devotion on page 132. If you haven't gotten that far, please check it out, especially after today. And it's called Never Ring the Bell. Turn to your neighbor and say, Never ring the bell. And that devotion was really geared towards specifically your walk with God. And it came out of a conversation, I wanted to go into the military. So for all the veterans, I'm going to give you a shout out. Thank you for your services. For all the active military, give you a shout out. Thank you for your services. I appreciate it. Matter of fact, stand up. Please stand up. If you're in the house, come on. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My mother begged me. She said, please don't go. Literally, she started welling up in tears. She said, please don't go. She said, they don't treat you right when you get out. And I have family members from the military all the way back into World War II. And we've seen how things are going. And she said, please don't go. She said, there's got to be some other way that you can, help serve people and stuff like that. So I started, navigating my life before I started pastoring. And it was very fulfilling, exciting. And I thank God because God calls certain individuals to go into the military. And I thank God, for those individuals because I had the option to say no. Right? In some countries, you don't have the option. Some countries you have to do at 18, 2 years in the military because everybody is a part of the army. Everybody's a part of the military. So I thank God for it. But I was watching a show by the Navy SEALs. How many of you are familiar with the Navy SEALs? Navy SEALs is supposed to be the elite group of individuals, right? And the elite group of individuals go through this tumultuous training. And while I was watching, they were talking about this thing called the bell. Can I get my bell? I got a bell. It's not as fancy as the Navy SEALs, but it's a bell. I got my bell. I found it at Hobby Lobby. I'm giving a shout out to Hobby Lobby, Christian organization. My trunk space wasn't big enough for the larger bell. And what happens is, all right, that's going to be sound, especially if I see y'all start sleeping. And the bell would sit in a place where you can see it as a candidate. You can see it during the 6-month course, what they call as the tadpoles. And a little excerpt from my book, it says, on the first day of Navy SEAL training, the primary instructor prepares the tadpoles for the grueling 6-month course ahead of them. A large brass bell is hanging in the asphalt courtyard, just a few feet away from the new trainees. After a terrifying description of the intense training, one of the instructors offers them an escape from their misery. See, the Navy SEAL program I was watching was asked by another candidate, what should I do? And he said, whatever you do, never ring the bell. Turn to your neighbor, say, neighbor, don't ring the bell. Turn to your other neighbor, say, other neighbor, don't ring the bell. See, looking back in my life, I can remember a couple of times I wanted to ring the bell. Maybe somebody is in here today ready to ring the bell. Maybe somebody's in here that can say, yes, I can remember back in my life where I was ready to ring the bell. And just so you know, you might be a person that might be entering a place where you're about to say, if things don't go right in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to ring that bell. And for me, one of my stories I think of, and I'm trying not to get in trouble as I say this story, was early in my marriage. Early in my marriage, I was ready to ring the bell. Now you see why I said I don't try not to get in trouble. Early in my marriage, and so one of these times, it was early in the marriage, I went into my marriage, I went into it with certain expectations. I was immature. Yes, I know, I was immature. Not just immature, I put very immature. Because my wife would agree with that more so than just immature. But nevertheless, I let my bad, immature attitude dictate how I interacted with Rita, my wife. Now, I wasn't abusive, don't worry. I wasn't, I'm not abusive, because y'all people start, going off on a tangent, like, oh, what happened? Y'all are stuck trying to figure out what happened. It's none of your business. But I wasn't being the man that my dad had raised me to be. The way my dad taught me to treat my wife, to interact with my wife. Because I married a Puerto Rican, she wasn't having it. So she responded with the same energy. She's like, oh yeah? Basically, without saying it, she told me she would cut me. And I started blaming her for the condition of the house. I started blaming her for the condition of the marriage. And what Dr. Allah has taught us is that everything rises and falls on leadership. And the buck had to stop with somebody. And it ultimately had to stop with me. See, I started blaming her for the little things and nitpicking the little things. And I was that guy. I said I was immature, right? So ladies, because y'all get together, y'all quick to judge. I remember me and my son, we were walking in and my wife was pregnant. My other two daughters were watching some show and they were crying and getting mad at some guy. And I said, walk out slowly. Don't say a word. Let's just leave. So when I first got married, my wife would wash my clothes. I'm like, that's not how my mother washed it. I know. Guys, don't do this. Learn from me, please. My wife was cooking. I said, that's not how my mother cooked. I know. I said I was immature. She would clean the house. I'm like, that's not the chemicals my mother would use. She gets it real clean. I know. This is what I was creating, but when I was, when you're looking at things from an immature lens, you start looking at everybody else but self. I even called my mother Mommy, what's that chemical you use? I know. I'm still saying sorry. It got to a point where because of this and my expectation, and she got to a point, she said, you didn't marry your mother. you married me. And if you don't change, this is not going to work. And I remember one night, I'm like, Lord, I'm young. Give me another one. See, I'm just the one bold enough to talk about what I'm going through. Y'all little chickens like, Guys, don't look at your wife while I'm speaking, though, because my wife's not here, so guys, don't look straight. Look straight. And I'm thinking, I'm getting, and this is that immature, cocky attitude. I was still, fit. Still had a 4-pack. I'm like, and the Lord checked me. He said, it's not about your age. It's not about your physique. He says, it's about your attitude. And if you don't change your attitude, and you take the same attitude in every relationship, you're going to have the same outcome. And I had to realize that the reason I was led to the bell was because of my decisions. And that reminds me of Jacob, and here's Jacob. And if you're familiar with the story of Jacob, how many got that far in Genesis? It's not that far. You don't even have to leave the first book. And you get into Jacob, and Jacob was a conniver, a schemer. He did dirt, at the point where they called him, he was a hill grabber, right? That was one of the definitions for Jacob. And him and his mother connived for a birthright that wasn't his. And here it is, he gets to a place where he's just fully broken and vulnerable, and he gets to a place where he's with God, and him and God is wrestling when he realized who it was, and God pops his hip, breaks it. But everything that led him to this place was because of his decisions. And he said, I'm not going to ring that bell until you bless my soul. Sometimes we gotta fight. Sometimes we gotta keep pushing, because the reality is something bigger. Why are we where we are? And Daniel said, no, I'm not gonna ring that bell. God popped his heart. He said, I'm still not gonna ring that bell. Jacob was going through the process, and that's where I found myself. Because of my decisions, I created this atmosphere in the household that led to me wanting to ring the bell, all because it was my fault. You see, like Jacob said, I won't let go until you bless my soul. See, many of us have led ourselves to a place where we want to ring the bell, and it's our fault. Many of us have led to ourselves to a place where we have allowed others to put us into a mindset of wanting to ring the bell. Whether it's a boss, a partner, business partner, or a child. But God goes like this, and this is the way God does things. And let's go to Daniel chapter 6. Daniel and the lions, and I'm reading out of the NLT. Darius the Mede decided to divide the kingdoms into 120 provinces and appointed a high officer to rule over each province. The king also chose Daniel and 2 others as administrators to supervise the high officers to protect the king's interests. Daniel soon proved himself more capable than all the other administrators in the high offices. Look, right? He's doing good. Because sometimes good puts you in the light of individuals that hate. Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, don't allow your hater to be the cause of your desire to ring the bell. Because of Daniel's great ability, the king made plans to place him over the entire empire. Then the other administrators and high officers began searching for some fault in the way Daniel was handling government affairs, but they couldn't find anything to criticize or condemn. He was faithful, always responsible, and completely trustworthy. Remember I said sometimes we find ourselves wanting to ring the bell because of somebody else's decisions? So they concluded our only chance of finding grounds for accusing Daniel will be in connection with the rules of his religion. And I think this is very prophetic because we're going to find ourselves in this position. I'm talking to where we are right now. In this world, you go all the way to places like California where they're trying to ban the Bible, all the way to Canada where they're trying to dictate what kind of messages a minister can preach. And we're going to find ourselves where we are at no fault. And the only area they can attack us is our religion. This is why I'm saying that this is so significant, because we got to be at a place where we're never going to ring the bell when it comes to Jesus Christ. You're going to please hear this, because some of you are going to deal with this. Some of you are going to deal with this because you work in the education area. Some of you are going to deal with this because you work in the justice arena. Some of you are going to deal with this because you're a politician. The areas that are going to be the most attacked right now are those areas. And they're going to want you to ring the bell. They're going to want you to ring the bell. So, he was faithful, always responsible, completely trustworthy. So they concluded our only chance of finding grounds of accusing Daniel in the connection with the rules of their religion, of his religion. So the administration and the high officers went to the king and said, "Long live King Darius. We are all in agreement. We administrative officials, high officers, advisors, and governors, that the king should make a law that was strictly enforced. Give orders that for the next 30 days, any person who prays to anyone, divine or human, except to you, your majesty, will be thrown into lion's den." And we continue going down. Your majesty, issue a sign like this law, so it cannot be changed. An official law of the Medes and Persians that cannot be revoked. So King Darius signed the law. But when Daniel learned that the law had been signed, he went home and knelt down as usual in the upstairs room with the windows open. He did what he normally did. That's why there's certain spiritual disciplines that you have to make a part of your life, so that when the time comes, when the offer to ring the bell is presented, you can go do what you normally do and pray. You can do what you normally do and read the Bible. You can do what you normally do and worship. You can do what you normally do. When the temptation comes to ring that bell, I'm just going to go and pray. Daniel did what? Pray, not just once, not just twice, but 3 times a day. And he left the windows open. He said, "I will not be moved." Then the officials went together to Daniel's house and found him praying and asking for God's help. Sometimes the decisions of others is going to put you into a place where ringing the bell becomes attractive. And the question is, what disciplines have you created in your life to be able to walk away from what is attractive to what is right? Oh, I'll ask somebody in the balcony, what disciplines are you going to put in your life that what is attractive can be walked away from to what is right? You see, because in Mark chapter 14, it sets the precedence. And I'm going to add some wording. It's not in the Bible. But I'm believing, based on what I read and studied in this text, that the bell was in the garden. Based on his humanity, Jesus' humanity, the bell was in the garden. Let's go to Mark chapter 14, verse 32. Jesus prays in Gethsemane. They went to the olive grove. Sorry, my cursor's on my... How do I get rid of this? The olive grove called Gethsemane. And Jesus said, "Sit here while I go and pray." He took Peter, James, and John with him, and he became deeply troubled in distress. distressed. He told them, my soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. He's hurting. He's going through. He's at a place where, and this is all God and all man. This is the hypostatic union of this divine and humanity. And still, he's at a place where the bell looks attractive. Stay here and keep watch with me. He went on a little further and he fell to the ground. He prayed that if it were possible, if I could ring the bell, the awful hour awaiting him might pass him by. Abba, Father, he cried out, everything is possible for you. Please take this cup. He's suffering. He's going through. To the point where they said that the distress has such an effect on his physical condition that the capillaries underneath the skin started bursting and it started mixing with the sweat, and they say he started sweating blood. He was going through. And you think your life is rough. You think the situation you're going through is rough. He was going through, asking God, take this cup. He cried out, everything is possible. Please take this cup of suffering away from me. Yet, I want your will be done, not mine. And he quickly surrendered to the will of God. But at the point, the bell was there. The bell was attractive. The bell had some significance. He wanted to trade what was going on for some release. Because how broken he was. How distressed he was. To the point where he said, my soul is so distressed to the point of death. You see, the instructor said to the Navy SEAL men, he said, all you have to do is quit. All you have to do to quit is ring this bell 3 times. That's all you have to do. He said, ring the bell and you won't have to get up early. Ring the bell and you won't have to do the long runs. Ring the bell and you don't have to do the cold swims. Ring the bell and you don't have to do the obstacles. Ring the bell and you can avoid all this pain. But if you read this book called Pain Must Have Purpose by Elder Pointer, there's some pains you just shouldn't avoid. So ring this bell and you can avoid all this pain. He said, also had another message. But if you quit, you will regret it for the rest of your life. There's 5 reasons that why we shouldn't ring the bell. Number one, the bell would not be attractive to quit if there's a purpose. If there's purpose, if the purpose is a part of the drive and go, why are you doing what you're doing and stuff like that, the bell does not look attractive. See, you lean into the pain when it comes up. You lean into the distress. You lean into the situation. Jesus leaned in because he had a purpose on this earth. It was a purpose that drove him to the cross. And what was that purpose? Jamaal Bernard. I was worth it. So write this down. Purpose is what you want to achieve. What do you want to achieve? That's why you have to understand the purpose of your Christian walk. If you don't understand the purpose, like Dr. Miles Monroe said, the purpose of a thing is not clearly understood, abuse is inevitable. Too often you ask a Christian, what's the purpose of your walk? They don't have an answer. And if they do, they're all over the place. What's the purpose of your walk with God?
Thank you for listening to Senior Pastor Jamaal Bernard of Christian Cultural Center. Download the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and visit cccinfo.church for more. We'd love to see you in person. Join us Sundays at 10 a.m. at our Brooklyn or Long Island campuses.